A food allergy diagnosis changes your life. It affects you, your family, your education, your career, your everything. That being said, as with all adversity in life, you have choices on how you can handle it. Some people choose to raise their hands, stand up, and get involved as advocates. They look food allergy right in the face and say, "I've got this." And they focus their energy on empowering others to feel the same way. These food allergy warriors range in age and background, but have one thing in common. They turned their food allergy story into action. Now I'm going to shine a light on them to inspire you to join the fight against food allergies. This is Take Action with Hillary Carter. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Take Action. I'm so thrilled that you're joining me for the premiere of season 3 and so thankful that you've watched all these episodes. Thank you so much for your support. As you know, I'm Hillary Carter. I'm a food allergy mom and advocate and a member of FAIR's Board of Governors. And today I have such a big treat for you guys. We're talking with Will Holsworth. He's the CEO of the Safe and Fair Food Company. Will, thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure, Hillary. Thank you for having us.
So let's talk all things food allergy and food allergy foods today.
Sure.
I know that this company originally was started by 2 food allergy families. Tell me a little bit about the history of the Safe and Fair Food Company.
So I had the very good fortune. I've been in consumer products my whole life. I was with Pepsi for a long time. I was our senior VP of global strategy at Gatorade, and then I was the president of Muscle Milk. And I came across, and I had sold that business, and I came across Dave Lair and Pete Nigerian, who were 2 dads whose kids have anaphylactic peanut allergies. So they created a cookie business around that. And so they asked me to kind of help with that. Then they asked me to run that business. And so when I looked at the company, and I have a lot of kids. So I have 6 kids. My wife and I have 6 kids between us from 28 to 19 months, just like everybody. And so, my oldest kids lived with me for a long time and I coached them and everything, but they never had food allergies, but I coached kids with food allergies, long before this became a big topic for people. I remember, that someone would say, "Hey, this kid has a peanut allergy." I think we had a kid had a dairy allergy. So we had to be really careful in the dugout and so forth about what kids would eat. So when I started talking to Pete and Dave, and then, one of your board members is another investor in this business. And I really understood the profound issues that families deal with with dealing with food allergies, which I actually think is a really timely topic, because as people are so concerned about COVID, I think it gives people just a small glimpse into what food allergic families deal with every single day. And I've had again, I don't have this issue, right? But I've spent a lot of time in this space, and it really is amazing to me what parents deal with every single day, and the fear, not only for the parent, but for the kid, and the fear the kid has, right? Once they've gone into anaphylaxis and have been hit with an EpiPen and going to the hospital, and I'm listening to story after story of this, right? And I'm thinking to myself, my son, Chad, he runs e-commerce for us, and he is this big strapping cool kid. He's brilliant. My daughter, Katie, she actually does customer service for us, and she's this wonderful young lady. And I have a son, Jack, that's in college, and my older ones. And there's not a day that I don't worry about them, right? And I think you could shoot Chad and it wouldn't hurt him. And I worry about him every single day, right? There's not a day that I wake up and I'm like, he's fine. So, and the same thing for all of my kids. I have 2 stepsons now that are 14 and 8, and my daughter is little, obviously. So I have concerns about her because she's, she does everything she can to harm herself in every possible way, which every 19-year-old does. But so I started understanding what was going on in the space, and then I looked at what was happening in food, and I'm like, I can't believe the options are so bad. First of all, they taste terrible, they look weird, and most importantly, and just terribly, they're really expensive. So like, I know what food costs, and I've been in this space my whole life, right? And so as I was talking to Dave and Pete, I'm like, gosh, I can't imagine what it's like to have to deal with this issue, right? And carry an EpiPen with you and send your kid out into the world and not know where it's coming from, right? And then 2 is you have to buy this really expensive, lousy tasting food that's weird for kids. So I'm like, why don't we try to do this? Why don't we try to expand this conversation and create a new business and call it the Safe and Fair Food Company, which simply means let's make food that's safe for the millions of kids that need it and fairly priced for everybody, because I have a fundamental belief that people should have access to good food at a fair price. And again, if you look at what's happening in the country today, this isn't, shockingly, it's not a topic people talk about, but most of the folks that are dealing with COVID are obese. And, so we have a huge issue with big food and lousy ingredients that people deal with every single day. So typically you find food that's, if it's reasonably priced, it's literally garbage. I would rather eat the bag than what's in it. And if you find food that's better for you, you have to be wealthy to buy it. And so I felt like Safe and Fair had a chance to be right in the middle of that place. And importantly, for food allergic families, I thought, why don't we try to flip the paradigm? So from the kids eating the weirdest food and being ostracized to actually the kids eating the best food of all of their friends that they were able to afford. And by the way, their friends' families were able to afford. So that was kind of the genesis of the business, and hence the name. And that's what we do all the time.
Well, I can tell you as a food allergy mom, there's literally nothing worse than trying to find something safe for your kid and then sharing it with their friends and having their friends roll their eyes and throw it in the trash. And so it's such a blessing for food allergy families to have food that everybody likes. And I will tell you, my son and I took down a bag of the birthday cake granola in like a day. It's so good. So it's really important what you're doing, and food allergy families should have safe food and delicious food. Yeah. And we all know that it's a huge problem how much more expensive food allergy friendly food is. So this is hugely important. So thank you so much for what you're doing. And you shared sort of your background with food allergy and coaching kids, not directly impacted with your family, but I read in an interview that several people who work for the Safe and Fair food company either have food allergies or intolerances, or their kids do. So how does that sort of impact the brand?
So look, one of the great things about doing what we do, first of all, we have wonderful employees, right? And even again, one of the things that happened in the pandemic is that, we have to work remotely and the business has grown exponentially and we haven't had any issues with that. So we have really, really good, high quality folks that work at the company. And, one of the things that we're always mindful of is that we're doing more than just making food, right? And so there's folks here that this issue is directly impacted, so they're particularly sensitive to it. But even the folks that don't have that, and, by the way, everyone's a step removed from this. This isn't like, Kevin Bacon where it's 6 steps removed. Everyone's 1 step removed from a food allergic issue in their life, right? And so, what we find is that people here really get what they're doing, and it's really important and it's meaningful. And when I say that, if I look at our product, right? So first thing is it has to taste great. And our head of R&D is this brilliant woman, Jessica, who actually makes food. She happens to live in my town, thank God. So everything that we want to make, I personally approve and my kids approve, right? Because my kids actually, and my stepkids, they don't necessarily think I'm the greatest person in the whole world every day. So they don't just tell me what I want to hear. And I won't make anything that I don't eat. I just won't do it, right? If I don't like it, we're not going to make it. And if Jess doesn't think we can get a particular flavor right, we won't do it. We have another Jessica, we actually call them the Super Jessicas, that designs our packaging. And so our packaging, I think our packaging works really well in Malibu and Greenwich, and it works well in Toledo, and it works well across the country, right? So we wanted to make a packaging that was beautiful and approachable. And again, as we think about that in the context of food allergic families, I look at what people have to buy from food allergic families, and I'm like, this is so bad. It's almost like they're trying to make it horrible, right? And, that's funny, but it's not funny, right? Because, when kids, are back in school and, you're kind of sequestered over here, right? Because you have to eat by yourself and then you're eating food that's super weird and it doesn't taste very good. I'm like, gosh, that's just a terrible dynamic that big food has set up for food allergic families, right? So our employees take a lot of care in understanding that, our food getting to the right kid and the right dynamic can be a real game changer, right, for that kid. And by the way, I've had the good fortune over the last few years to hear families tell me, we're eating your birthday cake popcorn, or I can't believe full stack granola. I never even thought about it, right? And now all my friends' kids eat that stuff, right? As opposed to my son's eating this strange bowl of thing, right? Where all the other kids are eating Fruit Loops, which are garbage. And so we really, everyone at the company takes kind of that mission very seriously in everything that we do and how we communicate with people, the kind of food we make, the price we charge. So it really kind of transcends all aspects of the business. Even our financial team is very mindful of ingredient costs and how we can make great food at a reasonable price for people. So yeah, it's an important topic for all of us.
Absolutely. And while we're here talking about your food, tell us all of the things that you guys make, because it's quite a long list at this point. So Share everything you guys are selling right now.
So we make
no pressure. List it all.
My son runs e-commerce, so better not miss anything. So we make a whole bunch of different kinds of granola. And then, by the way, what we do is we make things that I think are both interesting and understandable. So, we're about to relaunch pumpkin pie granola and pumpkin pie drizzled popcorn. Honeycrisp apple pie is one of our big flavors. My wife is an unbelievable cook. She's the best cook I've ever been around. And so she's made this brown bag apple pie. And a year ago, or 2 years ago, I'm like, why don't we try to make that into granola? And so what we do is, you've probably never seen Honeycrisp apple pie drizzled popcorn, but when you see it, you know exactly what it is, right? You're like, oh, that's pretty good. And then we're pretty careful about the flavor on that. So we, and by the way, my stepson, Logan, actually key lime pie is his favorite thing, hence why we made key lime pie. So I think we make things that are interesting for people, but they're also understandable. And again, when I look at food, when I see things that are interesting, like eel, kale, turmeric chips, I don't know what that is, and this is what I do. Or if it's stuff that's understandable, like Chips Ahoy popcorn, like I said, I much prefer to eat the bag than the food. So we've tried to get into spaces where I think we can make a meaningful difference, like drizzled popcorn. And we have savory popcorn. We make everything bagel popcorn, which is incredibly good. It's really a couple's decision at night, though. If one of you is going to eat it, you're either going to be social distancing or you're all going to have to eat it.
Yes, because I looked, there's no sesame, but there is garlic.
Right. So by the way, if you taste it, it's really good. So I don't look at anything and say, okay, well, the food allergic bar is this, because that's just garbage to me, right? I don't make things that are slightly better than that. I make food that's the best food I know how to make, hard stop. So when I wanted to make everything bagel, right, we couldn't use sesame and we can't use poppy seeds. And the reason you can't use poppy seeds is because of our allergy testing. Sometimes you get a false positive on a nut. So I don't want to run that risk, right? So that product, we put a little more pepper in it, a little more garlic in it, and it tastes very much like everything bagel, but it doesn't have any allergens in it, which is a really, that's a tough needle to thread for us. So we make that. We make pea protein chips. Protein is an important thing to me. I used to run Muscle Milk, so I understand that space really well. And those are like 10 grams of protein for 130 calories. So they're actually a snack. My wife will talk about that. The kids can eat the whole bag. You don't even feel badly about it, right? Because they're not the typical garbage potato chip or so forth. We make baking mixes that you can make top 9 free or choose to do in a different way. And then the last product we just launched, which I'm particularly proud of and excited about, is this. This is our Safe and Fair Kids Protein.
Nice.
It's open because I eat this every morning. Personally.
I'm guessing, I was about to say, did you have some with your breakfast?
I do. So this product, and by the way, so just so you understand kind of the care with what we do. So this is it's obviously a baseball on the top, right? And Jessica's husband, our brand design person, is the hitting coach for the Cubs. And so this is exactly how Major League Baseball players carry their bat. My wife was a concert violinist growing up. So this is Courtney kind of approved that this is actually how you hold the violin.
Oh, wow.
So nobody needs to know that, but we know that, right? So we try to be really precise in everything that we do. And in particular with this product, as I mentioned, my 3 oldest kids, they live with me, right? So they basically ate gummy bears and pasta. I was just constantly trying to get them to eat something. And I never could, right? And back then protein wasn't a thing, but I remember being like, please eat a chicken nugget, right? And so when I think about that for kids in general, it's hard, right? Now, my stepsons and my daughter ever eat great because my wife's a great cook and she makes food every day, but not everyone's like that. And then when you look at food allergic kids, right, sources of protein are hard, right? Even from my Muscle Milk cakes, one of the reasons that product was so successful is that to get a lot of protein, it takes a lot of work, right? So you either have to cook a steak or fish or cheese, or it's not easily available and it doesn't always taste very good. And so what this product has is 9 grams of plant-based protein. We developed the pre and probiotics at University of Chicago and Stanford. It's got a full serving of fruits and vegetables. It's got 100 calories. It's got 7 grams of sugar, so it's got low sugar. And it tastes great. It doesn't taste good, it tastes great. And so, a kid can get all of their macronutrients in 1 scoop of this every morning. And so, like my wife used to give my stepsons, these Trader Joe's probiotic shakes, right? Which are expensive, right? Well, we already did that in here. And so, part of why I developed this was, I knew we could do it really well. And two is, just my own experience with my kids is if I could have given them this, then I'd be like, fine, eat a donut. I could care less. Eat gummy bears. It doesn't matter to me, because I know you have protein in your body and you're ready to go to school or you're ready to go to practice. And truthfully, I drink a scoop of it every morning with oat milk just because it's delicious and it's a very efficient source of healthy protein. And so I think this is a product that's a really important product for families because, and as I've talked to some food allergic families about this, I mean, their reaction's actually been profound. Like, so I've talked to families that have older kids that said, look, if I would have had this, it would have literally changed their life, right? So, kids that have had failure to thrive, right? Or kids that have really struggled with this. And again, this tastes great. It doesn't taste good. So, we're really excited about kind of the quality of the product and getting people to be able to use the product. And it's a good, healthy thing for kids to have every day. And it tastes so good, you would be surprised just actually how good it is for you.
I think that's amazing. And you hit on so many points, which is the same things I was thinking in my head as you're talking about it, which is, first of all, the products that are typically safe for food allergy families are empty carbs. So that's kind of hard to work with and not what you want to send your kid to school on, and a struggle to find good protein. And then you look at protein powder, it's really hard to find one that doesn't have nuts in it or dairy or gluten. So to have a top 9 free option is really amazing. And I just love all the work you're doing and such a variety of products that you guys offer. Now, you mentioned testing earlier.
Yep.
Let's talk about testing, cross-contamination. I know that a lot of your products are manufactured in a top 9 facility, top 9 free facility. Some are not, but I have also noticed that you're incredibly transparent with your labeling. So just give us an overview of how you guys handle manufacturing, testing, and all of that.
So we have, so what we do is we test all of our ingredients all the way through the supply chain to be free of the top 9 ingredients. Okay. So by the way, this is an imperfect science, right? So we test, well, it's not flour, but let's say we test the millet, right? But you test parts of the millet, but it's a big drum. We test things on the line internally and externally. So we take a bag of this, and we test it in the plant. It says it comes back top 9 free. Then we also send those same lot codes to an independent facility that verifies that it's top 9 free. The reason it's, by the way, it's very, very hard to find top 9 free manufacturing facilities. And frankly, it's hard to find any manufacturing facilities that will manufacture with those specific food allergy sequestration protocols, right? So there have to be in certain rooms. They're hermetically sealed rooms. So flour doesn't kind of come over towards where the cookie is or what have you. By the way, a lot of people in this space are not transparent about where they're manufacturing.
That I know.
Right? So they pretend like, yeah, and that bothers me quite a bit, right? So and again, without crapping on my competitors, there's a lot of people that just don't talk to them, right? So, and we have this conversation about why do I put manufactured in a plant? So our ingredient deck is completely top 9 free, period. Okay. But I also know that there's families out there that don't feel comfortable about having a product made in a facility that has these ingredients anywhere near it. So I just want you to know that. I want you to know. I would feel horrible if somehow we got a call or an email saying, and by the way, never mind your kid getting sick. That would be the worst possible thing. But just the idea that somehow we duped you, right? And so we actually had this big debate with our board because, and we have food allergic people on our board. Like, man, this is a really high bar you're putting out there. And I'm like, yeah, look, and I understand that for most food allergic families, being manufactured in a facility that may contain or having, that's okay, right? As long as it's not in the ingredients. And again, we do exhaustive allergy testing, but there's some where that's not okay. And I just want you to be able to make that decision. And so if that's not for you, I understand that, right? I have kids, right? So, I have a view about how my kids should be. And I don't think anybody should dupe me. And I don't think anybody should tell me that, oh, hey, you don't need to worry about that. I'm like, don't tell me what I need to worry about or not worry about for my own children. I just want the information, right? And so that's why we've chosen to be this transparent. And by the way, occasionally you get people that are mad, right? Like, oh, I can't believe that's why. I'm like, because that's the best we can do. And by the way, that's one of the bar here is literally what is the absolute best we can do, right? So on this topic, it's just being fully transparent. And that probably hurts us in some aspects. But again, I'd hate to be on this phone call right now or this Zoom with you and all these food allergic families and they go, oh, wait a second. we thought this, but it's really this. It's not worth it to me. You know, what you guys deal with is way too important.
Absolutely. And I truly wish, as a food allergy mom and consumer, that every single food company had that perspective, because how I feel and how everyone that I talk to, which is, I mean, hundreds of families, how we feel is just give us the information. We will make the decision. We know what's safe for us and not safe for us, but just be clear about what's in the product and where it's manufactured. We all deserve to know what we're eating. So I think that's amazing.
And if, again, if some of our products aren't for you as a result of that, I understand.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to try to convince you otherwise, right? I know you guys are dealing, and I don't know the history, right? And one of the things I do know, one of our board members or major investors told me a story about bugles. So he has kids that were, this is years ago, you know, profoundly allergic to basically everything. And bugles they could eat. And then one day they were at his grandparents' house, and one of the boys went into anaphylactic shock because bugles put milk into their ingredients, and they didn't. And again, this is a long time ago, right? Where people, but I'm like, you're kidding. It's like, we're like, what happened? What did he eat? And they're like, bugles, that's it. And so that's one thing I can't control. Like, if we're top 9 free, we'll always be top 9 free. That'll never change. And we're not going to make, you know, we're not going to do anything more cheaply or substitute anything like that. So, yeah, I take that issue for someone that doesn't have that, you know, that the food allergic issue in my house. I take it very, very seriously for people that do.
That's great. And it's so important, and I know really appreciated by food allergy families. Let's talk about what's next. Are there new products coming out? Do you want to give us a little holiday sneak peek? Anything we should get excited about?
Yeah, we should get really excited. So we have, so from the time I say something, by the way, to the time it appears on our website is 14 weeks. So if you look at what big food takes, it takes 2.5 years. And I used to deal with this at Gatorade and Pepsi, right? So I'll say, hey, I think it's a good idea for us to make everything bagel, and 14 weeks later, you can buy it from us, right? And it's awesome. So we have a couple of really cool holiday flavors coming out. One of the things I can tell you that we're going to do, because we try to be careful about how we launch this stuff on social media. We've got a super cool ice cream popcorn coming out. My favorite flavor as a kid. But one of the things we're going to make is, so this protein it's 9 grams of vegan protein. So it's more geared towards kids and you know, adolescents. But we're going to make an adult protein that hopefully I'll approve next week in our full stack flavor, which is a full stack of pancake syrup and butter. And if you haven't had it, when you taste it, it literally tastes like that in your mouth, except that it's top 9 free and it's about 1/3 of the calories, right? So we're going to make that in an adult protein with 80 milligrams of caffeine. So it's basically going to be a full stack of pancakes and a cup of coffee with 200 calories and 20 grams of protein.
That sounds amazing, by the way. Now I'm over here ready for it. I'm like, let's go.
Right. So we're going to bring that out hopefully in the first quarter. We've kind of gone a little back and forth on the ingredients. It's hard to get, you know, caffeine, by the way, tastes bitter. So you have to kind of manage that. We're only using all natural, right? So we only use clean label ingredients. So I won't use anything artificial. And again, I just think that that's what I would want my kids to eat. I think that's what, you know, it's fair to everybody else to eat. The reason we are not organic, by the way, is because organic a lot of times is complete nonsense. And there's a lot of cost in organic that doesn't translate to efficacy. So for instance, like organic bananas, right, are 3 times the price of bananas. There's literally no difference, right? So for me to choose to be an organic business, and that also kind of gets at you know, the richer population and people that want to say they eat organic. And by the way, we get that sometimes. People are like, well, why aren't you organic? I'm like, because we're not. And because I'm not going to charge 40 or 50% more so that I can, like, you know, meet your little niche of people. So we've got full stack protein coming. We've got a couple new popcorn flavors coming. We've got a couple really awesome savory popcorns coming. And then we're going to do like a plain granola, you know, for adults. We launched All American Summer last year, which was my idea. And I got a lot of pushback on that. Like, we just call it All American. I'm like, no, let's call it American Summer, because I actually thought COVID might be over.
We were all wishing.
How about it? And so now we brought, the feedback we got on that was people really liked it as an everyday granola. It's got like strawberries, blueberries, and a little bit of cranberry in it, actually, because it has a little tartness to it. So we brought that back as an everyday, more adult granola. And then we're going to have a plain one, because we've been getting lots of requests. So one of the things that's interesting for us is that what we hear from families all the time is, first of all, if you're a food allergy family, we get the nicest videos, right? So the Safe and Fair box comes and the kid goes running out, and it's super authentic. We never ask anybody to say anything, right? And they're like, look, right? But then what we find is that we get a bunch of these moms that are like, I'm hammering your chocolate popcorn. I'm like, cool. Or I'm hammering your birthday. I'm like, wow. Or my husband loves this. I'm like, oh, that's good. So, again, for us, if you think about the difference between eating the food allergic food that you're used to, right? Nobody in your house is going, wow, this is terrific. I'm so glad I have this lame gingerbread cookie that cost me twice as much as the next one.
Tastes like sandpaper. Yeah.
Yeah. So we feel, that's part of why we're expanding our portfolio a little bit, to have a little bit more of an adult view on it too, because again, you're buying food from me that's as reasonably priced as anything you're buying. It's only better for you, and everyone in your family can eat it.
I think you're really ahead of the curve with understanding not only what food allergy families need, but also just families as a whole, because as we know now, there's 32 million Americans that have food allergies. But what we also know is that it's 85 million Americans who are affected by food allergies. If you think about parents and siblings and grandparents and the babysitters and the teachers, everyone who's making purchasing decisions based on the person in their family that has food allergies. So we all thank you for something tasty to eat and something that's reasonably priced. And I hope that more people get on board, because Lord knows we need companies like yours to really skyrocket to success and stay around, because we all really need tasty food. So I'm excited to hear all of this. There's something else I would really like to talk about, which is you guys are very philanthropic. You're very socially aware. I'd love to talk about your relationship with the Sean and Parker Center for Allergy and Asthma Research at Stanford University and how that works.
So, look, we, again, through part of our investors, we've had the good fortune to get associated with Dr. Nadeau. And so, by the way, we've been top 9 free, including Sesame, for about 30 months, because about that time, Kari said, hey, Sesame is getting to be a real problem. So we didn't have it in our products, but by the way, it didn't make it into Everything Bagel either. And so, we donate some money to them, and we were able to just understand kind of real-time food allergic information that helps inform some of the decisions we make and some of the way we formulate our products for people. And so, look, my hope and prayer, honestly, would be for food allergies to be eradicated. I'm not worried about, my company being obsolete. It would be great news if your family didn't deal with this every day, right? That would be the best thing for Safe and Fair. And then I think that, the reality of it is that people will remember what we've done now, right? So if Kari can cure food allergies, that would be great. And then Safe and Fair is going to be great either way, right? It's part of the decisions that we made here is we wouldn't do things like fear monger, right? We wouldn't say, hey, you better have this, or, hey, your kid's not going to be safe, or, hey, we're like, look, again, I have a family, right? So I understand all of the dynamics of what it means to raise kids from 28 down to 2. So there's enough problems out there. And so we decided to take a very optimistic view of the world. So if you look at our Instagram and our social media, I know how hard it is. I know how scary it is. We don't talk about that, right? And I'm not going to tell you that. I'm not going to try to connect into things that really worry you every single day. We're trying to give you a forward view of look, food can be great and fun and enjoyable, but just so you know, we take this gravely serious. We're doing all that work. Sorry, that's my daughter, Ever.
That's okay. That's real life. That's literally everyone who's working on Zoom the last 2 years. So I'm here with you. I managed to kick everybody out of my house today, but I don't always get that opportunity. I think that's wonderful. And I have so much respect for Dr. Nadeau. I think of her as the godmother of food allergy, and pray that she figures this whole thing out. And as you said, Safe and Fair is relevant and important no matter what, but we'll all pray for no more food allergies one day soon. I'd also like to talk about your relationship with FAIR. So obviously this show is in collaboration with FAIR. And I know you guys have a great relationship. Tell us what that looks like and what collaborations you guys are working on together.
So this is we're doing a number of them. This is kind of the first thing that we're kicking off together. Again, one of our largest investors has been deeply associated with FAIR, and we've had, kind of tangential associations over the year, and then spent some time with Lisa a couple of times. And I thought maybe it's a good time for us to, get even closer together. And again, what we try not to do is we try not to be the food allergy company, right? And, one of the things that's interesting for us is that if you look at our Instagram and, or if you look, by the way, my wife's Instagram, she was kind of our first influencer. So hers is a life from scratch, and she's this unbelievable cook. And she started talking about Safe and Fair. And so what food allergic families, this is fascinating for me. So if I call you and say, hey, Hillary, I got great news for you. I make this really, really great popcorn. You're going to go, okay, you know what? I've had lots of really great crappy allergy food. So I'm just not interested in that. So it's funny that, talking to food allergic families directly about some brand new great thing doesn't work because you guys have had years of garbage. So part of what I was trying to think through, even with our relationship with FARE, is, we're not trying to hammer that we're the food allergic brand for you. We make really great food that happens to be top 9 free and very transparent in your life. And, that's a good position for us, right, to be in. And what we find is, like, literally when my wife started talking about us, we're getting hundreds of orders, right? And food allergic families are ordering from her because they know she's such a good cook. And then they're like, oh my God, Courtney, this is the best popcorn I've ever had. This is the best granola I've ever had. I can't believe, like, all my kids can eat this. And then to your earlier point, you kind of get like that. They're like, oh, and I sent it to my parents because my kids are going there next weekend. Oh, and I sent it to the sleepover. And then I talked to the school about it, right? And so that's kind of when I started talking to FARE, I'm like, I want to be able to just share that we make really nice food for you guys, right? And we're trying really hard to do that. And having exposure within the community for you, I think, is really good. And it's good. It's good for my business, right? But I actually think it's good for you guys because, and this is why we love working here, right? I wear this t-shirt every single day. It's the only thing I wear, unless I'm playing golf. And the reason I do is because people ask me about it all the time, right? And by the way, everyone that works for us wears this t-shirt. My kids wear this t-shirt. My stepkids wear this t-shirt. My son, who is as cool can be, and my daughter, they wear it. Their friends wear it. Everybody just talks about it. And, like, it's funny. My son just moved to Fort Lauderdale, and he sends me a picture. He and his 4 friends are out wearing Safe and Fair t-shirts, right? And it gives us the chance to just share this message, right, of what food allergies mean and a really reasonable solution. And I was hoping that's what I was kind of hoping for with this new relationship of Lisa and FARE, because you're very pragmatic about how you look at it, right? Is like, we just want people to know, right? And I think once you start interacting with us, you'll be pretty happy about doing that. And we want to make sure that you are.
Love it. I'm so happy that you are working with FARE. It really is, in my mind, the most important food allergy organization that there is. And so grateful for all the education and advocacy work they do. So it's great when we're partnered with wonderful brands like yours. So I love hearing more about that. So let's talk about this show. It's called Take Action. Here you are, you're the CEO of this amazing food allergy and just delicious food brand. What would be your tips for taking action, whether it is in the food allergy community or in your organization, in your community, whether it's things that you live by or things that you've seen other people do? What are your take action tips?
So I'm a big fan of there's integrity in behavior, right? So, like, when the whole pandemic hit, right? There's a whole bunch of, like, CEOs that posted stuff about, I want you to know what a great guy I am because I haven't fired anybody. And I'm like, okay, I'm never going to post anything like that. Or I want you to know how great we are because we just gave a bunch of food to a hospital or a bunch of whatever, right? I'm like, okay, so what we did with that is I said, hey, listen, I'm sure you know people that Safe and Fair food would mean a lot to right now. So just give that to them. Okay. We're not going to talk about it on Instagram. We're not going to write a letter about it. We're not going to tell people how great we are. Just go do the right thing. And we end up getting lots of nice feedback from that, but you never saw it on our social media because I find that stuff to be very disingenuous, right? I think that when I look what happens with food and food allergic spaces, right, and I see all this nonsense, I'm like, look, charge people less money. Right? Give people a chance to interact with your food. By the way, make better food. Okay. I mean, I know how to do it. And it's hard. Okay. It's hard to make top 9 free granola taste great. I get it, but do it. It's possible. And by the way, it's possible to do it at a reasonable price. So when I think about taking action at Safe and Fair, for me, I want to give you my food. I mean, I can't even tell you how much Safe and Fair food my wife and I give to people. Just here's a bag of this, or here, try this. And by the way, I'm so excited to do it, because I know you're going to like it, whether you have a food allergy or you don't. But if you do, like my stepson Beckett, he plays on a baseball team. And I was talking to one of the dads, and their son has a peanut and dairy anaphylactic allergy. So the next day I brought him protein. Like, here, try this, right? And literally the dad's like, this has changed our life. This has changed our life. Like, do you know? I'm like, oh, well, good, great, right? I'm really glad that you think that. Now, I'm not like, please post that on your social media. Please tell every single person you know, right? I'm just like, I think so. When I think about taking action, I just think that, look, you should live your values, right? You should just treat people well. And we are very privileged, and we all think about this, to be in a place to make food that can actually make an impact for people, right? And I think that, that's an important responsibility, right? So, one of the things that I think about all the time is you can't give what you don't have. So if Safe and Fair isn't a safe and fair place to work, we can't be that to other people. And if we are, then let's try to be that to people in our community. That's why we all wear these shirts proudly. I don't have to ask anyone to do it. Is people like talking about us, right? And I don't say, wear our shirt, let's go. We'll just wear our shirt, right? And it gives us a chance to say, hey, and I think, part of the dynamic today, I think, there's two things that are really important in food going on today, in specific food allergies. One is, I hope that the pandemic raises awareness for what your community deals with every single day. I remember I was speaking at U Chicago where my son went, and this is a couple of years back, and I'm like, look, let me set this up for you guys. If somebody heard today that there might be sarin gas on a plane leaving O'Hare, okay, no one would fly. No one, okay? People would drive, people would walk, and 0 people would put their kid on a plane. If they thought one plane had a chance of that, one. That's actually what these families live with every single day. The idea that somebody didn't wipe the table. The idea that this cookie isn't supposed to have a nut, but did have a nut, or wasn't supposed to have dairy and does have dairy. That's what you deal with. That's for real stuff, right? And I recognize that most of the time, almost all the time, anaphylaxis isn't fatal, but it can be. Right. And, as I've come to understand, you're either in it or you're not. It's binary. And just the trauma of a child, like, I can't even imagine, honestly. Right. Like, I had my kids break bones. Right. And, I've had my son Chad, he had to go under surgery for it. I'm like awake at night. Right. And I'm terrified. And, when they've gotten hurt playing sports, I'm like, I feel it in my stomach. Right. But I'm not worried that they're going to stop breathing. I'm just not. And so I hope that, in the context of all of this noise about taking care of people and doing the right thing, is that people have a better appreciation for what food allergic families go through. And sometimes I hear this crap of like, well, I don't think it's really that fair that, we can't have peanuts in my school. I'm like, seriously? I mean, really? So segregating anybody is wrong. Through history, it's wrong, right? But it's okay to segregate food allergy kids so they can eat with kids that they don't know or maybe not like. But that's just how it's got to be. And I'm like, if I was a food allergic, I would be like apoplectic over these issues. And on top of that, as I know with my kids, and again, they're great. They're awesome kids, right? But every kid struggles, right? You're not fast enough, tall enough, rich enough, whatever it is, right? And on top of that, imagine being so afraid of like not being able to eat something, right? Or like not wanting to shake somebody's hand, or not being able to walk over to that table. So I hope that what happens through this is that people have a deeper appreciation of what everyone goes through, right? And in particular for food allergic families, what they go through, and are just more sensitive to it, right? And I think, again, but I think the other side of that is you have to give people a reasonable solution. And that's what we are, right? You may not like birthday cake popcorn, which is fine, but we have like 10 popcorns, and one of them should be pretty good for you, right? And it's something that's accessible to everybody. So we're not asking you to have to tell your parents or maybe your in-laws, hey, pay 50% more for food, right? We're like, just kind of pay what you're paying, right? And this is safe for everybody that's around us today. So, and then the other thing I hope that happens is that people just have a deeper recognition of what eating means, right? And I hear people, and I don't, whatever your view is on COVID, it is. But the one thing that's true is the healthier you are, the better you are in position to deal with anything. And for some reason, it's been conspicuous that nobody talks about that. Like, we've gone through 2 years of like all these other things other than just get healthier, right? Get thinner, lose weight, eat better, eat less processed stuff, eat less fake ingredients, eat less sugar, right? And so I'm hoping that this is maybe an inflection point in time that people will have a deeper appreciation for what people deal with, so that you guys aren't getting any more pushback. You don't need it. It's hard enough. And then maybe a deeper sense of like just eating a little bit better and what that'll mean.
Both of those points are so valid and so right on. And honestly, as a food allergy mom who does live this, every single thing that you just said, lives all of that every day, it's wonderful to hear that empathy from somebody who is not directly a food allergy parent. So thank you for understanding. I think it's just so nice when we get people who get it and then are out there talking about it. It makes it so much better for all of us who are living this every day. And you're so right. I mean, the thing with COVID the last couple of years is people did start to understand in certain ways that not only do we have to keep our space clean, like the hand wiping and the counter wiping, but also we rely on other people to keep us safe. So we rely on food companies to be transparent. We rely on the waiters to actually talk to the chefs. I mean, we could go on and on and on, and we won't. But just thank you for your understanding, and thank you for your empathy, and for all the work you're doing on behalf of our community. Tell us where everybody can find all the delicious, safe, and fair products.
So interestingly enough, so my son Chad runs e-commerce for us. You can go to safeandfair.com. And then our head of sales is a guy named Jeff, who worked for me for 15 years at Pepsi. He's the best sales executive I ever met. And so we're in about 10,000 stores around the country, in Kroger, Walmart, Target, Costco, Sam's, Ingles, Schnucks. And so we kind of continue to get more and more food distribution around the country, which is nice. But you can always go to safeandfair.com, which Chad would appreciate. We have a bunch of cool things online. That's where things go first. That's where all of our innovation is as well. And so, and again, what we've tried to do here is, and I'm sure everybody's dealing with costs in the country. So, we do our very best to manage our costs as carefully as possible so that we're able to deliver food to you guys at a very fair price. That's, by the way, a full bag of food. That's another thing I think that's funny. I open food sometimes. I'm like, wow, glad I have a long arm. I can reach in there and find that, right? And so we don't try to con anybody in those things. So, so those are kind of, you'll see us in more and more stores over time, and you'll see us online.
That's awesome. And I've been all through your website. It's very, very clear and transparent. So just a note, as always, to all food allergy parents, read those labels every time to make sure you pick out a product that's safe for your family. But thank you, Will, for making sure everything is so clear and transparent. And any last notes for us before we wrap up here?
Well, I want to thank you very much for your interest in us and letting me have the time to kind of share the story of a whole bunch of really great people that work for us, that do this all the time. I happen to be the one that talks about it the most, but we have brilliant and kind and thoughtful people that come from parts of great families that this really matters to them. Nobody kind of, like I said, I mean, it means a lot to everybody to work at Safe and Fair, and we take our responsibility to all of you in the food allergic community very, very seriously. And, there's probably days where we're not perfect, but it's not because of lack of effort. And we literally try to do everything we can to be able to deliver on this promise, because I think it's a really important topic for people. And I'm really glad. I'm always happy that's why I wear this shirt, is so I get to talk about it. And it's a real privilege for me to be able to share this story with you guys today. So thank you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to chat with you. And also, by the way, we're talking about social media. Where can people find Safe and Fair on social media?
Oh, we have a great Instagram. We have a really cool Instagram. I think it's just at Safe and Fair. I think we have a Twitter, but I don't think we use it very much. We're getting on TikTok, which is good.
Oh, nice.
And but our Instagram is really cool. And we do all that stuff. By the way, we have a young lady who's a kind of first generation in her family to college. And she works for my son, and we do all of that stuff organically. I think it's important that, again, you can go spend a bunch of money to make an Instagram look really cool, or you can just kind of do what you do. And so it's all organic. We've never paid for a follower. And we've got a whole bunch. I think we're at 103,000, which is pretty good. And it's good.
That's awesome.
Hopefully you'll like seeing that.
Yeah, authenticity is super important. So I love hearing that. Thank you for sharing. Yep. And thank you so much for joining me today, Will. And everybody who's watching, as you know, you can check out more food allergy tips at foodallergy.org. And you can always find me at Hillary Toll Carter or at Hillary Toll Carter on Instagram. Will, thanks so much. I really appreciate you chatting with me.
I'm not sure what's going on with Ever down there. She never cries like this, but
she's excited. She's excited. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Hillary. Peace.